Hello and welcome back to Shining a Light, the series where I showcase great games that you may not have heard of. Today, let's look at Cryptark. Cryptark is a twin-stick sci-fi roguelite developed and self-published by Alien Trap that was released in June of 2017. Now you may be wondering what's so special about this game. After all, the roguelite genre is starting to get a little oversaturated. And to put it quite simply, this game offers highly satisfying risk versus reward gameplay, surprisingly deep strategy, and a steep but fair difficulty curve. Let's talk about it. In Cryptark, you play as a space privateer. Your profession is to infiltrate ancient alien spacecraft and disable their AI, allowing your clients to safely dismantle them for resources and technology. Your ultimate goal is to salvage the titular Cryptark vessel, but to even locate it, you must disable other ships so that their data can be used to triangulate its location. Okay, now that we've established the basic premise, let's take a look at how the game actually plays. To start off, you'll have to choose which suit you'll be using. This is basically the same as character selection in other roguelites. The main difference is that each suit has different starting weapons and equipment, but there are other smaller passive differences such as the salamander leaving a damaging trail of fire. You'll only have one suit to start off with, but you can unlock more very easily, and I'll get onto how you can do that later on. Once you've finished up with suit selection, you'll be given a choice of which ship you want to try to go after first. You'll be given some information about each option, and you'll also be given a list of optional objectives available for that ship. Once you choose a ship, that's when the fun starts. Each ship will look kinda like this. Your main objective is to destroy the AI core, which is right here. Of course, you could just rush right to the core and try to take it out immediately, but that's usually not a good idea. See, each ship has a variety of what are called systems. Each system does something to make your life difficult, but they can all be destroyed. For example, this right here is a repair system. As long as it's active, it will automatically begin to repair other destroyed systems. Obviously, this makes it a priority target. Other systems include drone systems, which spawn enemies, shield systems, which make another system invulnerable, and even nuclear systems, which cause a massive explosion whenever another system is destroyed. Earlier, I mentioned that Cryptark has a pretty deep strategic element, and this is where it shines. Choosing a proper course of action is essential to finding success in this game. Do you want to only take out a few systems so that you can spend as little time as possible in danger, or do you want to systematically eliminate threats, which takes longer but results in less immediate risk? On top of that, there are research nodes which will randomly unlock more weapons and equipment to use in the run. You need to decide if it's worth the risk of hunting these down, as they are scattered throughout the ship, including in areas you might otherwise pass by. These decisions are a stark contrast to how roguelites usually function, where you don't know what your future holds. Typically, when you enter a new area in a roguelite, you have no prior information and must react to whatever the game throws at you. This element of planning in Cryptark makes the game feel entirely unique within the roguelite genre. But of course, it doesn't end there. Cryptark also has an interesting way of dealing with money. Whenever you start a new ship, you can customize your loadout with whatever you've already unlocked, and you can even choose how much health and ammunition you want to take with you. This all costs money, which you obtain from completing ships, doing bonus objectives, and plus you get a small time bonus after each ship. Another interesting factor is that when you die, it's not actually full permadeath, unlike pretty much every other roguelite out there. When you die, you have the ability to go out again. Of course, you will have to pay to do so. The run only ends when you die without enough money to try again. This adds another nice bit of risk versus reward. If you're feeling confident in your epic gamer skills, particularly in the early levels, you can go in with low health and/or weak equipment to save up so that you can have more money to play around with at later levels. Alternatively, you can overload yourself to reduce the chance of dying at all at the cost of fewer options long term. On top of that, the optional objectives do a great job of adding to that ever-present risk versus reward mentality. With each objective you complete, you get more money, with a nice bonus for completing all optional objectives. These objectives vary in how they actually affect your game should you choose to shoot for them. Some of them end up being feats of accomplishment, such as the objective for never triggering an alarm, while others simply encourage you to play more dangerously, such as objectives which require you to not destroy certain systems or which limit your maximum health. Another nice thing about Cryptark is it's not like you're going to have a cookie-cutter loadout every single time, even once you figure out which playstyle most suits you. The gear you unlock from equipment nodes is entirely random. Sometimes you'll get a powerful weapon, sometimes you'll unlock something with a very niche use. Sometimes you'll unlock equipment like mines or better health packs. Every run plays out differently because you have different things to play around with at different times, and you have to plan your course of action based on what the game gives you. Most roguelites nowadays have some sort of permanent progression available, and Cryptark is no exception. In addition to the optional objectives, you'll notice that sometimes there will be an additional objective labeled Artifact. If you complete this objective, you'll retrieve an artifact from the extinct alien race that built the ships you're exploring. You'll get a small lore dump as well as, well, an artifact. Artifacts are their own unique currency, and they're used to unlock additional suits. You can unlock them in any order, which is pretty nice. Other roguelites will usually tie new characters to specific unlock requirements or will simply enforce an unlock order, and I like how in Cryptark you get the freedom to choose. And of course, if you do go for the artifact, that's more risk versus reward, although this is an interesting case because the artifacts don't actually affect the run you obtain them in, so you do run the risk of screwing up your game without the chance of getting more money or equipment in return. Additionally, it is possible for artifact objectives to conflict with the regular ones, meaning there can be times when you have to choose between going for more money and getting a shiny new artifact. And did I mention that this game is hard? Each individual enemy and obstacle is fairly easy to figure out, but the trouble comes when you throw them all into a confined space. Now, I really like hard games because when you finally master them, it feels that much better. However, I don't like it when a game just takes cheap shots or does nothing but buff the numbers for artificial difficulty. Cryptark is very hard, particularly at the later stages, but it's also incredibly fair, and every time I die, I know it's because I screwed up. There are two paths to mastery of Cryptark. There's the mechanical element, how good you are at killing enemies and not dying yourself, and the strategic element, how good you are at choosing a plan of action and executing it. And don't get me wrong, the strategic element is absolutely vital, even if it doesn't appear to be on the surface. Just looking at the map can give you the impression that the proper strategy is to just take down the high priority systems and then work your way through systematically, and that the overall plan isn't too important. However, target selection and target order is something that can make a massive impact on your game. I won't go too in-depth about all the different things to be aware of, but a good example of how this can impact you is in the later stages of the game, you'll commonly find multiples of various systems. If you have a ship with 3 or more drone systems, it's usually worth destroying at least half of them before even moving on to the repair system, because otherwise you just get mobbed by enemies. And this isn't something that's explicitly told to you, you just have to figure it out through experimentation and analysis, which really helps the overall replayability. Now hold up, I'm not done yet. Another thing I absolutely have to mention is the fact that there's multiple game modes. In addition to the campaign mode, which is what I've been describing throughout this video, there's rogue mode, which emulates a more traditional roguelite experience, and Cryptark Excavation, which functions as the conclusion to the story. I'm not going to really talk about Cryptark Excavation because it's kinda spoilery and you do need to beat the other two modes to even unlock it anyway. But rogue mode is really interesting. It's the same core gameplay, but it plays so differently simply due to the change in game structure. Like any other roguelite, rogue mode is full-on permadeath. If you die, you have to restart. There's also no money system or level selection. Instead, the ships will be populated with supply pods containing weapons, passive upgrades, and equipment. All of your health, ammunition, and equipment carries over between levels, so if you run out of ammo, that gun is useless, and you'll have to find a supply pod to replace it. I really like how this shakes up the game. You're not going to have that much control over your loadout, unlike the campaign where you have near total control. This makes it so you have to react to your circumstances, much like a traditional roguelite. Furthermore, having these supply pods scattered throughout the ship is a good way to encourage scouring the map rather than just quickly targeting the core to preserve ammo. Again, it's almost like playing a completely different game. Cryptark is actually phenomenal, and it's a shame that it kind of flew under most people's radar, but that's what this series is for. Games like Cryptark have had a lot of time, energy, and passion put into their development, and that deserves recognition. Plus, I find that more often than not, indie developers like Alien Trap seem to genuinely care about producing a quality product. Go play Cryptark. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.